Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, I'm KingNido, and today it is the Melemele Rumbles going up against the Levincia Wonders, and as they have a look at their opening hands, let's have a look at the tale of the tape between these two sides, where the Rumbles and the Wonders were a part of our first ever draw game in the PokeType League TCG, and that happened last season, and it actually cost the Rumbles from being able to make it into Victory Road, as they were one spot out of trying to defend their championship, whereas the Wonders are still trying to get their first win of the season. So with that said, let us know in the comments below who you think is going to win this matchup. Will it be the Fighting Dex? Will it be the Lightning Dex? Let's go!
3, 2, 1, go!
And going first in this matchup, it is going to be the Beach Bash deck of the Melemele Rumbles, moving the Metatite into the active spot with the Persimmon on the bench. They've also got the Sandygast in hand, as the Wonders with their Ruins of Conflict deck are going to move the Togedemaru into the active spot. They've got the Shinx on the bench, but they've actually got both the Tapu Kokos and the Blitzel in hand. Basic Pokemon galore for the Wonders at the moment. It is the X-Speed being pulled for the Rumbles. They've also got the Guzma and the Acerola already in hand, as the second Togedemaru has been pulled for the Wonders. They immediately get that onto the bench. They only require 1 energy to get online. With this Electro Smash, it does 20 damage, but if they flip this heads, and they don't, unfortunately, it would have done an extra 30 damage to the Metatite, who has 60 health. It's been brought down to 40 health now, taking that 20 damage as the Pokeball is pulled for the Rumbles. They play that immediately, get in another basic Pokemon. They get their second Persimmon, and these two pairing together, if one of them's in the active spot, it does an additional 40 damage with the other one on the bench. But the trip over here from Metatite flips the heads. They get the extra 20 damage, but not just that, with the weakness of Togedemaru, it does an additional 20 damage on that, so it's going from doing 10 damage all the way up to doing 50, but it's the Sophocles being pulled by the Wonders. This allows Togedemaru to do an extra 30 damage. They wish it did an extra 50 damage, but this is going to guarantee they're going to take the first point here in game 1 in this 3-game series over the Melemele Rumbles. And they will still get that coin flip. They actually get the heads as well, so it does 30 damage. On top of that, this Electro Smash, 80 damage. I'm sure they wish that happened on the first go of that Electro Smash, but the Wonders taking the early lead here in game 1. They've never won a series over the Rumbles. They've actually never won one game. There's been one tie, but the Rumbles, all of their decks have won every other game as they pull the Metacham one turn too late for that Metatite. They're starting to set up the benched Persimmon with 1 Persimmon in the active spot. It does require 2 energy here, as the leftovers are pulled for the Wonders. Togedemaru only has 20 health remaining as well, as the Tapu Koko gets its second energy. Again, this Electro Smash, and they flip their heads, 50 damage onto this active Persimmon. But not just that, the Wonders are on the bottom of the board at the moment. They're the only side to not have a deck win a single game so far, so they want to keep this lead and take game 1, as it is the second energy onto the bench Persimmon, and with that X-Speed, the active Persimmon has a 0 retreat cost, moving the opposite Persimmon into the active spot. They can capitalize on their type advantage, and this Let's Throw, doing that additional 40 plus the additional 20 for the weakness, 100 damage, wiping the Togedemaru off the board, leveling the playing field here between the Beach Bash and Ruins of Conflict decks, as it is the Tapu Koko moved into the active spot. It does that Volt Switch, 3 energy, 70 damage, not enough to take out the Persimmon, but when it does this, it immediately has to go back to the bench and switch out with one of the other lightning type Pokemon. And the Luxio has been brought online as well. There's still the second Tapu Koko and the Blitzel in hand for the Wonders. They're thinking about how to approach this turn. They go with the Volt Switch, 70 damage, as we said, onto the Persimmon, and they're switching out with the Togedemaru going into that sacrificial active spot. It's only got 70 health, and again, with that weakness, 100 damage from the Persimmon. As the second Sandygast is pulled, the benched Persimmon getting its first energy. This Let's Throw again wipes another Togedemaru off the board, and the Rumbles have taken the lead. They need 1 more point here to take game 1 over the Wonders. They know not to underestimate this side after what happened last season, where they ended up with that tie game, the electrical cord being pulled now for the Levincia Wonders. That Pokemon tool, it can allow them to move lightning energy from a Pokemon that gets discarded to the benched Pokemon here, as they are going to move that electrical cord onto Tapu Koko in the active spot. The second Tapu Koko now on the bench, getting its first energy, and another Volt Switch. They need to think about how they want to approach this though, because it does take out this Persimmon. They will be able to move in either the Sandygast or the second Persimmon. They switch out with the other Tapu Koko though. Moving into the active spot, it does have 100 health, and that means this benched Persimmon will not be able to do the additional 40 damage as it is moved into the active spot. It's only got 50 health remaining, as the Rumbles and the Wonders are both on 2 points each. The next point will take game 1. And they do get the second energy here onto the Persimmon, but they're not going straight on the offensive. They can see that there is potentially a win condition on the side of the Wonders here. They need to really think about how they want to approach this. They've got the big Malasada in hand. They've got the Guzma, but that's no good to them really at the moment. It would only rid the Wonders of that electrical cord. And I'm not sure they can see a way out here. They may be dropping the first game to the Wonders for any side all season. They get the Let's Throw 60 damage onto that active Tapu Koko. It still requires 2 more energy. The second Shinx has been pulled for the Wonders. They're going with the retreat. They're not worried about the energy. They move the other Tapu Koko back into the active spot, and with this Volt Switch, 70 damage, and the Wonders have taken their first game of the season. Now it's a matter of, can they take their first series and their first ever series win over the Rumbles. Now with all 3 games here, you get 2 points for each win, so all 3 games will count. But we're going to have our first table reset, and if you're enjoying what you're seeing, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the action in the PokeType League TCG. Now the Wonders desperately needed that win, and they are going first this time with the Lost Thunder deck. They've got the Zeraora, the Joltik, and the Oricorio in hand, and they are going with that Zeraora in the active spot. And on the first turn, it generates an energy for itself as well, so it can get online in the second turn for the Wonders, or the third turn in the game. They're going up against the Rock Face Rumble deck of the Rumbles, who move their Rockruff into the active spot, their second Rockruff with that Signs of Evolution going on the bench. They've got the Conkeldurr in hand as well, plus the Rare Candy and the Big Malasada. But here we go, the Wonders going first, pulling their own Big Malasada. They're going to play the Pokeball, and they've already got the Galvantula in hand as well. They get their second Zeraora, and with that Thunderclap Flash ability, they can both generate an energy for themselves here, and it only works on the first turn. So there's 1 energy for the active Zeraora, and there is going to be 1 for the benched one as well. And as we said, they've got the Galvantula in hand. That Joltik is already on the board as the second Conkeldurr is pulled for the Rumbles. They get an energy onto the active Rockruff with this tackle, doing an additional 20 damage. So Zeraora taken 40 damage in this match so far. The Beastite being pulled for the Levincia Wonders, but there's no Xurkitree that's been pulled for this Lost Thunder deck yet. But the Galvantula is online, and Zeraora does get its second energy. They're also going to play the Big Malasada, so it already has 10 health being restored, trying to keep it out of discard range from this Rockruff. The Lightning Claw, 50 damage onto the Rockruff, leaving it with only 10 health remaining. And the Rumbles have pulled the Pokeball, sorry, it is the Leftovers, the Pokemon tool that they can set up on one of their Pokemon, where they would restore 10 health at the end of every turn that they make, not the end of every turn between each side. But they are moving that Signs of Evolution Rockruff into the active spot, retreating the second Rockruff to the bench, and with the Signs of Evolution, they get a Lycanroc card out of their deck. It comes back over to the Wonders, who do pull their Guzma here as well. And Galvantula gets its first energy as another Lightning Claw from Zeraora. 50 damage once again onto one of these Rockruffs, as the Poison Barb has been pulled for the Rumbles. They immediately get it onto the active Rockruff here. They get a first energy back onto the benched Rockruff, who is now a Lycanroc. It does require 3 energy for that crunch that does 80 damage, and with those weaknesses, it could take out all these active lightning type Pokemon in one turn. As another Signs of Evolution from the active Rockruff, it's not going to be very useful though, because this Rockruff is in discard range, the electrical cord being pulled for the Wonders, and they do get that onto the active Zeraora. And they do play the Guzma to get that Poison Barb discarded from the Rockruff, as it is going to be a second energy now onto the Galvantula. The Lightning Claw though, the Zeraora taking the first point. Once again, the Wonders with the early lead here in this game too. This could potentially be the first time ever they're able to take down the Melemele Rumbles, having yet to win a series against this side. They've had 1 clean sweep loss to the Rumbles, and they've had a tie overall to the Rumbles, but it is going to be Lycanroc getting its second energy, as it also receives that Leftovers, bringing its health back up to 60 at the end of this turn, but also with that big Malasada, that's going to bring it up to 60 before that even happens. They're trying to ensure that Lycanroc cannot be discarded because they have no active Pokemon on the bench right now, and if they lose Lycanroc, they will automatically lose the game. It has 70 health remaining. It comes back over to the Wonders here, and they are going to retreat the Zeraora. They move the Galvantula into the active spot. This Electric Shock does 70 damage. Lycanroc 70 health remaining, and the Wonders are going to ensure that they take this series over the Rumbles, and they're going to try and clean sweep the fight index. This is exactly the comeback and turnaround the Wonders needed for their season, as we have our final table reset, and it is going to be the Rumbles going first this time with their Rock Steady deck, and they need to be very steady here as they have got the Minior, the 2 Mianfus and a Rockruff in hand, because they do have the Midnight form of Lycanroc in this deck. They're going up against the Blush Mountain deck of the Levincia Wonders. They've already got that Mianshao in hand, do the Rumbles, moving one of their Mianfu into the active spot, the Minior on the bench. It is the Alolan Geodude in the active spot, and they've already got the Alolan Graveler in hand, plus the 2 Rare Candies and another Electrical Cord that the Wonders can try to capitalize on. But here we go, game 3. As the Rumbles are trying to avoid the clean sweep here, they've just pulled the Mudsdale. They've got no Mudspray in hand at the moment, so they just end their turn, sending it over to the Wonders, who pull their second Electrical Cord. No second basic Pokemon that they can play yet, but they do get a first energy onto the Geodude, who requires 2 for that Knuckle Punch, and here's the Mudspray for the Rumbles. They are going to get that onto the bench. They get the Mianfu, its first and only required energy. With this Kick Shot, they need to flip a Heads for it to do 40 damage, but that weakness could come into play. However, it is the Tails, so Geodude is going to take no damage at the moment. And we do see the Alolan Golem being pulled for the Wonders. They can get this online right now unless they want that Graveler there. They do have the Rare Candies, they have their options, they're hovering the Graveler, they are thinking about it here. And it is going to be the Graveler coming online. It only requires 3 energy compared to the Golem's 4. But it is only got 2 energy on it at this time, so they send it back over to the Rumbles, who get their second Mudsdale in hand. The Mianshao that's been in hand since the start for the Rumbles and this Rock Steady deck gets online with that second energy. This Low Kick does 70 damage with the additional 20. Graveler has 20 health remaining. And speaking of Gravelers, that's what the Wonders have pulled. They get a third energy onto their Graveler. They can get 60 damage. If they get the Golem online, it only has 70 health remaining. It can't get online and do any damage. This frees up the Rumbles. They're not going to drop a single hint of damage in this game 3 because they get this Low Kick from the Mianshao. As the Wonders, this deck has bricked. They drop a 1 point and they drop game 3, but they will take this series, and they desperately needed that, as next round they do have the bye. They've moved themselves up into 9th place, but after their bye, they're going up against the Kitakami Rogues. Whereas for the Rumbles next round, they'll be going up against the Turffield Ebonies. But until then, Nidorinos, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below what you thought the best card was. And if you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, send thanks, and I'll see you when you see me.